So good to have someone on the show that loves music as much as I do, and I have, like I said in the intro, been so enjoying Key Reflections. I'm like listening, and I'm drifting off to sleep, going to my happy place, and it's so nice.
Yeah, thank you. It is definitely good for sleep. That's one of the primary functions I think I created that album for: sleep, meditation, a way to have a mental vacation. So I'm glad that it is impacting you that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Really, there couldn't be better timing in the world to have things like this that can bring us to a better place in our mind and a better place spiritually. And so just thank you so much for putting it out there and allowing us to enjoy it.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, for me, it's reciprocal. It's one of my gifts, and so it's almost like to not put it out there. It's almost. I put something on Facebook a couple weeks ago. It's like, when you're a true giver, you only receive your gift when someone else receives your gift. That's how you're given a gift. So that's how I feel with this. For it to be received in the way that it is by you and by others is actually the gift for me. So thank you.
I love it. I would love to have you start out by sharing with us just something that's bringing you joy right now in your life. I think everybody kind of needs to be focused on that right now, and so sharing and joy with other people is good. So what's something that's bringing you joy right now, Aaron?
Self-care is bringing me joy right now. Yeah. Self-care is bringing me a lot of joy right now.
I love it.
Yeah, self-care journey is something that is important to me, and consistent mindfulness and meditation, and just every day focusing on that. I actually have a self-care journey that is a part of my daily offerings, as I'm on my journey as well. And so, yeah, self-care is definitely making me happy right now because, without self-care, I mean, it's kind of hard to sustain. It's really hard to sustain. So, yeah, I've always been a person who in some way was applying self-care, but I'm enjoying, this new journey, this new level of it, Yeah.
I think it's something that I think a lot of people come in later on. They maybe aren't taking care of themselves, or they're maybe always putting other people before themselves. And then at some point they wake up and go, oh, what about me? And I should be taking care of myself. Was that the case for you at all?
Well, I would say I've always been a person who's been a caretaker around myself, especially mentally. It was like needing another level of it, Life, you go through different phases and times in life. And so I came to a point where it was time to go to a deeper level, because my circumstances changed. So you have to adjust accordingly. The only consistency in life is change. So being able to be mutable and flowy and adjust to that, it was important. And so, yeah, in this last season of my life, I would say, in at least the last 6 to 8 months, I had a considerable, extra level of anxiety and responsibility and, just all that. So it was time to take it to another level. And as, that's what it is. I mean, for the most part, most of the things in life, it's like insurance, we don't need it until we need it. And then when we need it, then we're glad that we, put the time and put the deposit into it. And so that's how I look at it. This is part of responding to life and preparing for life even further. And so, yeah, and I kind of appreciate however people come to that place. You just have to accept it for what it is, because that's evolution. You don't pay attention to things until there's a need to pay attention to those things.
Yeah. So you're a self-taught musician. When was the first time? How did you come into music and teaching yourself? Was there a moment that you can remember, or is it like since the moment you came out into this world that you just were drawn to music? What did that journey look like for you?
So it definitely wasn't the latter. The funny thing was I started really late. I started late when it comes to like the music that I do now. The earliest though was when I was 14. I got into conscious hip hop and I became a lyricist and artist. And I was doing that with a couple of friends of mine until I was about 16, going on 17. And during that time, when I was 16, going on 17, I became interested in learning an instrument because at that point I was a lyricist and I started trying my hand in production. I was pretty good at it, and I said, if I can do this well, just by ear, what would happen if I learned? And so at that point, I set out to learn an instrument. My group, we were supposed to choose one instrument apiece because we were a 3-person conscious hip-hop group, and we were going to be like the first rapping trio, So I chose piano, and I was the only one that followed through with his instrument. But
interesting.
But at 17, making that choice and then starting to teach myself how to read music and then still playing a bit by ear and then eventually getting a mentor about 2 years later is what opened me up to the different genres of music. It opened up my ears, because I started studying classical. I started playing gospel for about 10 years. I started studying jazz and blues, and soul, and it just kept unfolding from there, and because I'm such an inquisitive person, every exposure to a new genre, it opened my mind up to new possibilities. So before you know it, I went from being a conscious lyricist at a young age to being a composer and arranger and just a lover of music, a person who has a diverse skill set, and it just unfolded from there. The opportunities just really unfolded. That's like the brief the brief version of it, and then once I hit entrepreneurship around 21, that's when the merging of the two came together, and that opened even more possibilities as far as being a musician, and possibilities as far as how I could take this gift that I learned that I had at that point out to the world. But I didn't know that I really didn't know I had a gift for music when I was younger, because I wasn't in band in middle school or high school. I was in chorus because you had to select a class from at least one class for music. But the rest happened to just unfold. I did have one defining moment that really showed me, and I'll share that really quick. When I was in the 10th grade, I had a space in my schedule where I needed to fill a class, and I had already taken a chorus class, but the music teacher had been my teacher since middle school, and he was also friends with my mother, so I was kind of a bit more cool with him. And I asked him if I could put his class in my schedule again, but instead of doing chorus, if I could go into the keyboard room, and while the class was doing chorus, I would just shut the door, be quiet, wouldn't disturb anyone, and I could hone my skills. And he agreed, and so it allowed me to take that class and actually start honing my skills, as a musician. So that was a big defining moment. Shout out to Fernando Allen.
I love that. Love that, because that doing music and stuff in school was a huge turning point in my life, and at a time in my life when things were rocky at home, when I was dealing with a lot internally, trying to figure out who I was, and really struggling with depression and anxiety and a lot of these things at a very young age. That music and my music teachers were a safe haven. That's where I found peace. It's where I was at home. And so I totally get that. But I love your story for a couple of different reasons. Number one, because you started a little bit later. There's so many people, like, we'll see on social media these days, like, 3-year-old kids sitting at the piano playing these masterpieces, and we're like, really? Like, there's no hope for me because I didn't start that young, And then the other thing is really just that you, like I said, you didn't start as a baby. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people assume that what we're going to do for the rest of our lives is something that just happens naturally and it's easy and we don't actually have to work.
Oh, no,
you worked on it and honed your craft, right?
Yeah, I would say, honestly, that was my gift, if you will. My gift was discipline and honing in. Mm-hmm. My gift was the ability to take my 9-to-5 job, excuse me, and when I got the opportunity at 21 to become a full-time musician, I took those 9-to-5 hours and I just shifted them over to music. I studied music from 9 to 5. I took a 30-minute lunch break and I studied music for the rest of that time. And that's how I put in the time. And over the course of a short time, like a couple years, I went from not knowing how to play the piano to actually being able to hang with the best of them, dare I say, and then evolve from there. I was so excited about the opportunity, to do something that brought me joy. I was not going to miss out on that opportunity. So I would say that my discipline, is what really, really helped me. And then I would also say, in addition to that, it is never too late. When it comes to music, I tell people all the time, when I was teaching privately, my students ranged from about 18 to 68, and there is no age limit when it comes to learning music. In fact, the older you get, the better it is, because it helps to ward off things like Alzheimer's and dementia and those kind of things, because it's like a cardiovascular workout for your brain, because you're building new neural pathways every time you sit down and learn a piece of music or approach something like learning a music instrument. But then it also has, healing effects. I mean, even if a person never took on the life of it being a career, just for it to bring you your own personal happiness and joy is something that can't be overstated, as well as, it's something that's also communal, and you can do it in a way where others are able to join you, even if it's something like you have a holiday party and you just play a little bit. Like, there's just so much joy, that comes out of music. But that's what did it for me. I did start late because I didn't start playing the piano until I was 21. At 21 is when I really sunk my teeth in, and I'm just not a person to take for granted a grand opportunity. And when it comes to the opportunity to learn in general, and then to learn something that was so fun as music, yeah, I did just take it and run with it, to be honest.
I love it, and I think that's just a great lesson for everybody, talking about how it's never too late to start on something that you love and that brings you joy. I just love that message for everybody. So you've learned your craft over time, and you've played with amazing people, and you've had your own band and everything else. Did you ever have any setbacks along the way, or any moments where you thought, like, I don't know if I should be doing this, or anything that came in your way during that period of time?
Well, the funny thing is, the first time I had that was really right before I met my mentor. And when I say right before, I literally mean like moments before I met my mentor. I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to let this go. But the reason why was because at the time I was a budding musician. I was starting to learn. I was in church, and I was starting to have my ears open. I was around the organist at the church, and I was around my friend who was the drummer of the church. And I wanted to learn, but I didn't know at that point how you went from, not knowing how to play or not knowing how to, hear music to learning. And so I didn't really have a mentor. And I taught myself how to read music, but of course that's only one side of the coin. So we were in a church service, and I wanted to participate. And the way that I would normally participate would either be on percussion, because anybody can play percussion. And it's not even that anybody can play percussion, but it's easier to tap out a beat and fall in rhythm. It's actually a good thing. It's an accessibility point that almost anybody can get into it because it just involves your body. To, trying to put together complex notes and harmonies. So we were in a church service, and things were, the music was going and everything was going really well. And I didn't really have anything to do because we were at a visiting church. So there was a piano on the other side of the church, and the guy that was sitting at the piano was the minister of music for the church. My buddy kept saying to me, "Why don't you go play the piano?" I'm like, "For what? I don't like, you know what I know, and I don't know much." But he just kept saying, "Just go, just try." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm always down for trying." So this is when I don't know if I have a lot of courage or if I'm just downright crazy. Like, I still haven't figured it out. I think it's a bit of both, right? It takes taking a risk, in order to achieve. So I got up, I went to the other side of the church. I asked the guy who was playing the piano successfully if I could sit down and play. And I did, and he allowed me to. And when I sat down, I knew how to find the key to the music. So a lot of times I would just try to find the key and just try to find a melody around it or something. What he saw in me, though, was what he would later say he saw in himself. He saw that I had the desire, the passion, and I had the guts to try. And so at that point, he said to me, "You should let me take you under my wing and be a mentor, because you remind me a lot of myself, and I can see that you desire it, and I'm a teacher." And that was the moment. So, what a better way to be an example for not giving up, That was literally because after that, I told him, I was like, "Man, I love this so much, but I'm going to let this go." And I was just going to go back to what I was doing before, which definitely wouldn't have brought me to the point where I am now, even to have this conversation. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any big musical influences in your life, or people that you look up to in the music industry that have inspired you to be the kind of musician you are today?
Well, yeah, definitely. The list is long because I'm a bit of what I call a musical mutt, and I wear that term proudly. I've been through so many different genres of music as far as my...
That's me.
Yeah, so I've been through so many genres of music when it comes to learning music that my influences range from like rappers, like Tribe Called Quest and The Roots. The Roots were my biggest. Let's start there. That's a good place to start. The Roots are the reason why I'm a live musician, because I was a hip-hop musician, and I was influenced by a lot of hip-hop producers and artists. And then in listening to music, to become a producer, you have to listen to everything. So one of the things that I did, a little side story, one of the things that I did when I was younger was I took my tape recorder and I used to plug it up to my family's digital cable box and record the music channels, all the different genres. And when I came home from school each day, I would take that recording and sit down with it, and that's how I would make my music, as a producer, chopping samples and that kind of thing from the different music. So one day it would be opera, another day it would be blues, another day it would be classical. So I had a lot of influences that way. But from that point moving forward, my biggest influence was the Roots, because I was blown away at how they could take a song from the studio and take it to the live audience and actually play it live. I was infatuated with that. And I was already infatuated with them from a hip-hop group perspective and from a message and lyrical content perspective. So they were my influences to become a live musician. I was blown away because before that, people just went on stage with, pre-recordings or with a DJ. So that was my first influence. That band was my biggest influence. And then from there, I have a lot of influence in the individual genres. There's the Herbie Hancocks. There's of the jazz world and the Chick Coreas. There's the Stevie Wonders, of the soul and R&B world. There's from the gospel world, everybody from a classic like Mahalia Jackson to someone new like a Kirk Franklin or Hezekiah Walker. There's smooth jazz. There's Brian Culbertson, who introduced me to how to express through your instrument without a vocalist. Like, there's so many different. And then my favorite classical arranger is like Chopin. To me, he's like the jazz master of classical music. I'm into folk country. I'm into everything. So I have influences all over the board. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good thing. When I watched, I don't know if you saw the reality show that Netflix, but it was Rhythm and Flow, the rap competition. Did you see that?
I haven't. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen Rhythm and Flow.
Well, the guy that won, D Smoke. He was a trained musician. He was a music teacher. He played piano, and actually the song that he won with in the final, he came out and he played piano, and people were like, "What?" Like, you I think you have expectations of going into something like that, thinking well, he's just so well trained and was right in there like with the producers and everything else. So I think that ultimately that's why he won, is because he had such a wide range of musical interests, of training, and he, like, very similar to you, worked real hard to get good at what he does.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine that. I mean, that diversity does set you apart. You're building your brain in a different way, and so it really expands you. That's the other thing too. That's another sidebar I want to throw in there too. Learning music is really good for cognitive skills and problem solving, and even down to things like changing your perspective. Like, music helps with that because you're always blazing new neural pathways. So it really does help you when it comes to problem solving. Because in order to listen to music and play it, you have to decipher certain things, so you have to look at things from multiple angles. So it really does transfer over. You're building your brain in a different way. And I think that everybody is quote unquote special, because I think that, it's like everybody's special because no one is special. Like, we're all special. But it is something unique about the brain of a musician, though, that studies show, and it's because of the way that we're building our brain. It gives us a certain kind of sensitivity to things. We hear things in a different way, Yeah. And as soon as I said that, I heard out back my neighbor was practicing with his target dart thing out back. And I heard the first dart go into the board as I said that, and he's way out back there. See, that's what I'm saying. It's that kind of thing. The sensitivity is there. But let me say this too, and I just want to add one more thing to that. The sensitivity, to things like tone, so to be able to listen to a person speak, it almost builds another level of intuition. You can, like, understand a person's feelings even deeper because you can hear small different fluctuations in tone, or small fluctuations in pauses or breaths and that kind of thing. It's very peculiar.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely see in my own work and working with people in a very intuitive way that music and just being able to hear things differently has helped me. I can see that, and it's not something that I've spent a whole lot of time talking about or really thinking about at all. But it's a natural thing that happens. I think, and I can see, when I've struggled recently with different health things, anytime I go back to the music and I'll sit there and sing, or I'll start writing or something, even when I'm not feeling good, and I start to feel better. And so it really does do something for you.
It really, really does. I feel like it develops your emotional your sensitivity. I was thinking about as you were talking, I've been working deeply on continuing to grow as far as emotional intelligence. And but I was thinking about musicians, and I was like, well, does it grow you in emotional intelligence? It's like, well, no, because there are some crazies out there. But what it does, though, is it increases your sensitivity. And so then what you do with that, that's a completely different question and journey. But it does really increase your sensitivity, though. It really does. Even when you have people who don't know how to express what they're feeling, they feel it. Musicians, we are very sensitive to we can feel things just based off of the combination of slight nuances in hearing as well as the rest of our senses as well. But it kind of all comes together. It really does come together. Especially when your eyes, when you have two sets of eyes. You have your actual eyes, and then your ears also become your eyes too. The deeper you go into music, your ears become your eyes. There's so many times when I'm performing, and I was just talking to a friend about this the other day, and it was even something that she pointed out. And she was like, I noticed something when you're performing, you're in a particular zone where you almost don't see anything else. You almost don't see anything else. And I was like, yeah, that really is the case, because my ears become my eyes. So at that point I'm actually feeling out a room or listening or paying attention in a different way. So yeah, it's really interesting.
So tell us a little bit about Key Reflections and how, I know you said you were working on it for quite some time. How did that idea come about? And tell us how it finally all came together. Okay.
So Key Reflections is one of many albums that I have released over the years. I released, when I say hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of albums, I literally have. Because I at one point between 2014 and 2015, I was putting out an album a week. But that was because I had created an instrumental company and was putting out music that served multiple purposes. You could use it for listening, you could use it for performing and that kind of thing. So the way Key Reflections came about is one of the most special and significant places for me as a musician, and all that I create is solo piano. I have a particular kind of relationship with the piano where when I sit down to play, at this point, it's therapy for me, first of all. But then second of all, I have this ongoing, growing relationship with the piano. So I've spent so many hours in so many different ways and so many different genres of music that when I sit down to create, and then as a person where I am, when I sit down to create, I completely empty my mind. I'm coming to it okay, where is life right now? What am I feeling? And then that's where I go from there. And so I've often been told over the years by other people that some of the best music they heard me play was when I just sat down at the piano and just, as I say now, went completely from the right brain and just flowed, And all those years playing in church developed a sense of being able to just sit down and create music just out of thin air, because you had to do that in order to provide for the environment. You were the film score for the environment. So Key Reflections came out of that place of appreciating myself in the way that I was being appreciated, and really just focusing on something that's very much a cherished space for myself, And as you heard in the introduction of the CD where I expressed those sentiments, it's a sacred space for me, It's a place of healing and therapy, and I just get lost. I get lost in playing the piano. So that's how that came about,
I think those... Yeah. Yeah. I think those of us that are listening are getting lost in it with you. We're just drifting off to sleep into our magic, our happy place, and it's good. It's good.
Thank you. Yeah, that definitely... I appreciate it, because that's one of the fields that I decided that I was going to get into with this project and with a few other projects that I've released that are similar. Getting into the meditative feel, getting into that, music for sleep, and study and calmness. Because anytime I sit down to play, that's essentially, as we'll see when we hop into it, that's where I go immediately. I immediately go to that place of like taking a breath and just escaping and just going to that place of calm and peace. It's just naturally how I play and where the perspective I come from, so yeah.
I love it. Well, I'm excited for you to play for us today.
Yeah, me
so
too.
We're going to be back in just a minute, you guys, for more of the Breakthrough Show.
Be back.
With Aaron Hill, who is an amazing musician, and we've just been having a great conversation about music and about not giving up on your passion, and then it's not too late. It's not
Right.
too late to dive into something that you're interested in doing for us today.
It's never too late. So I'm sorry, the last part of the audio cut off.
It's all good. What are you going to be playing for us today, Aaron?
So I'm going to be playing whatever life asked me to play in a moment. So I'm going to just improvise. I'm just going to improvise and just allow the moment to take over. So we will find. I'll be able to let you know after life lets me know in the middle of the moment. All right.
Good. I love it. I love it. Let's do it.
That's the
special musician that
Mm-hmm.
you can literally feel so many things through their music. And I really feel like when you play, we get to know you, we feel a piece of who you are, and just thank you so much for your gift and for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you. That really means a lot because the way that you just explain your taking in of it is it mirrors exactly my intention when I put it out. So it lets me know that that intention
Mm,
is headed in the right direction. You know, when I'm in the space.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good to have that confirmation, right? That you know your intention for what you're putting out there is. What's next for you? What kind of things are you working on right now?
Well, so I'm getting used to this new title of public figure, right? So basically, you know, for 17 years now, I've been an entrepreneur, and so I've had the ability to build my own businesses and do my own thing, as they say, successfully. Now, being a public figure is on a daily basis. I'm bringing my journey, you know, to the people in different forms. So what's next for me is more of what a person will see if they follow me on social media, which is, you know, I've got my self-care session happening after this where I'll be sharing, you know, the next level of meditation in my journey and teaching people the tools and techniques that I've been learning. I've got, you know, more music coming out, and especially in responding to what we're dealing with as far as, you know, the health situation. I'm going insular and getting ready to put out a lot of content, you know, that I've been working on for a while. It's that time now, you know, to really put it out. So I've got some vlogs happening showing some beautiful experiences in my life to bring to people. I've got some new music, working on some new instrumental music. I've got a lot a lot going on. So it's more of Aaron Hill TV, you know, more of that more of that, you know. I'm writing like 4 books, you know. I'm writing like 4 books that are like between my quotes and some of my ponderings as well as some self-care stuff, you know. I got a lot going on. So yeah, it's more of the Aaron Hill project. Yeah, the best way to keep up with all that, of course,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Aaron Hill
I mean,
TV
it's a
everywhere.
typical creative, I think, to yeah, yeah, for sure. And you put a lot of your things out on podcast as well, and that was another thing that I found absolutely hysterical when you were talking about how it's too damn hot outside. I could actually I was laughing almost to tears because I'm so I melt literally down here.
Mm, your connection.
But yeah, it's so much fun. Yeah, I think we lost connection for a minute, but we'll be good. I think we're coming back now. It's
Yeah.
all coming back to me now. Now all the songs are popping into my head. But but yeah, I think it's it's amazing to have a lot going on. I think some, especially in times like this, where like I said, we can focus on, that we can enjoy, and that other people can enjoy along with us. I think we're just helping to raise the vibration of this
Right.
planet and make it a more joyful place to live, even in the midst of adversity and a lot of different things that are going on. So Aaron, I'm just so thankful that you came to spend some time with us today. Thank you for sharing your story and for, of course, the time to spend with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, and definitely looking forward to have future conversations. Definitely looking forward to talking about a lot of things with you. So thank you.
Well, guys, if you want to learn more about Aaron Hill and the many things he has going on right now, be sure to find the link in the show Spotify, where you can find some of his music and other things going on there that will just bring more joy to your life. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more of the Breakthrough Show.
Thank you.
All right, we're good to go.
Sweet, sweet. That was really fun. That
Awesome.
was really
Oh
fun.
gosh, I love the song. I love the music, and I I'm such a like, I sit down and play by music, or
Hmm.
I'm more sing than play instruments these days. But
Right.
to sit down and, like, I've always been so nervous
Hmm.
to sit down and play without music, and so it just, like, you've inspired me to sit back in front of the keyboard for a little while.
That means a whole lot, um, because I really do want people to experience as much freedom as possible when it comes to, playing an instrument or partaking in music.
Mm.
Because the truth of the matter is, when you do, I mean, it is one of the most free and exhilarating experiences. But the thing I like most about it, and this would definitely be like, something we could talk about in the next convo around it, is that you remember how I was talking about earlier how it helps you develop in so many other ways. So one of the things, even to be able to do what I just did, is it teaches you how to get rid of self judgment. It teaches you how to, get over your
Mm.
fears of judgment of others. Um, and it teaches you how to be vulnerable and feel safe. It's a journey, but I just like the fact that it's basically one of the many places that you get to. The more you just kind of surrender to it, or you practice it, or you allow yourself to partake in it. So to inspire you in that
Mm.
direction, it means a lot to me, because that's all I desire to do, is to inspire and to help
Yeah.
people. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, and any advice that you need, besides even the keyboard advice, any advice you need as far as the music, um, yeah, let me know. And one thing I want to send to you, I'm going to send you a link. One of my favorite teachers, his name is Kenny Warner, and he came out with a book called Effortless Mastery, and
Okay.
and it's a resource that I give a lot of the credit to the way that I'm speaking about music now. It teaches you how to just kind of be set free, but it teaches you from a place of how to be set
Mm.
free in your life, which then just naturally transfers over to the music. So I'll send you a video hearing him lecture about it, and I think that you'll appreciate it from the musical side, but also from the meditation and mindfulness side. I think you'll really appreciate it.
Yeah, I would love that. And because I mean, I think back to times where, I was taught traditionally, learning the classical music and things like that. And if you don't get it exactly how it is on the paper, your music teacher would be like, "No, you don't
Yeah.
do that." And I was over here wanting to go, but I just want to do it this way. And
Yeah.
I was the rebel that was giving my piano teacher a run for her money.
Right. You know what though? It's so I had so many students where that was their experience. Because the thing about learning classical music is that while it's a beautiful art, it's just like the school system in a lot of ways, where it's set up to help you learn, but at the same time it doesn't take into consideration the different type of learners or the different interests and that kind of thing. So it cuts you off at a certain point if you don't have a teacher that knows how to invite you to the rest of the experience of music, even if they don't know it themselves. But if they at least know how to invite you to it so that you can find your way. But many teachers don't, and so it leaves a person in a place where they like music, but then they have a love-hate relationship with music, because there's this anxiety that comes with performance anxiety, or getting everything right and perfect, and that's not life. Actually, life is literally one big song of improvisation. And that's why I like jazz so much, even though I appreciate the classical. I mean, I appreciate classical to no end, but it just needs to be when people are learning from a classical perspective, it needs to be framed in a different way, and that's up to the teacher. The teacher has to know this. It has to be framed in a different way where people are where they understand that this is one way of playing music. This is one approach to music, and this isn't the end all be all. Like it's not that. And a lot of people don't know that, so they don't know what to do about what you experience, which is that like I want to play something different, or I hear something different, or I want to do it this way. Like, and they don't have a way to categorize that, because the teacher is supposed to be the one that helps you with that. But most classical approaches aren't developing the right brain, at the same time as the left brain is being developed, and that to me is the issue. From your very first scale, like I tell people this, I used to do this with my students. As soon as you learn this scale, as soon as you can do that, to me the next thing is, okay, besides going home and developing your left brain by getting that back and forth, getting it down, I would also tell the student, now take those same 7 and 8 notes and now just play it any way you want. Make up something from it. Like, just have fun with it. And even just from that stage, whether you're working with a child or an adult in that way, you're developing the other side of the brain, which is that's what you need. It's like the difference between learning how to drive in school for driving school and actually learning how to drive, which is when you get on the road and you have to respond to things. So it's the ABCs, but it's not poetry though. Like the poetry is getting out there and learning. So yeah, to me that's the one biggest thing that's missing in classical music education. You have to develop the other side of the brain. So you have to give the student time to just be creative and unadulterated. There are no wrong ways to play this, no wrong notes, no wrong anything. Just it's all subjective, and what would you like to do with this? You have to start spawning that. That's how you really develop creativity. And then you'll have adults who don't have this love-hate relationship with music where they're like, I really like music, but I was forced to do classical lessons when I was younger. And now I love music, but it was, yeah, to me, that's musical trauma, really. that's musical trauma. So yeah, lots to talk about. I know you got other appointments and that kind of thing, so.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was great though, Aaron. Thank you so much. And I, of course, would love to have you back on and play some more for us and have some more. I mean, we could sit and talk about what it.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same way, and I want to reach out to you too as well, and have you on my podcast too, have a convo, and just continue to as we say, chop it up further.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you so much, Aaron. I appreciate you, and I will be in touch and let you know about a week out from when I air your episode with a graphic and all of that fun stuff for you.
Sounds good. Well, the pleasure has been all mine. So thank you, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Awesome. We'll talk soon.
All right. Take care. All right. Bye bye. What's up, family? So that was a interview that I just finished with the Jessica Dugas show. I think that's how you pronounce Jessica's last name. I'm sorry, Dugas. And so I was on her show and we were talking about just music, a little bit of life. And, she has a podcast where she interviews different people about what they do. So I was happy to be on. And we talked about a few things. If you're just joining now, we talked about a few things in the first half that had more to do with my journey and kind kind of what I've been up to, the things that you all see me up to on a regular basis. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. And if you need to go back and check out the first one, sorry, I got something on my screen. Okay. Yeah, go back and check out the first video, and you'll hear the rest of the conversation, what we were talking about and that kind of thing. So, thanks, Russell, Kathy, Shannon, April, Eunice, Michael, Corinthia, D-Love. Thank y'all for hanging out. And drop a line. Let me know if you have any questions about anything we were talking about. And I'll see y'all back shortly for the self-care journey session of the day and for Mood Mondays later on. So, see you soon. Peace.